Hello YouTube. I see many comments from new players struggling with the Relic system in Star Rail, so this is the step-by-step guide to help you get the relics you need to beat the end game quickly. The most important thing to understand about the Relic system is that each relic level needs exponentially more experience, and recycling a bad relic refunds only 80% of the experience invested. As a new player, you will run out of XP if you try slamming every good looking piece directly to plus 15 and will start cannibalizing good pieces trying to level bad ones. The goal of my method is to figure out which relics are going to be good at level 9 and not at level 15. So what makes a good relic? We can use the Fei Xiao from my vertical account as an example. Most damage dealers need two specific substats. In Fei Xiao's case, that's crit rate and crit damage. A perfect relic has all of its rolls go into these stats. In the case of this helm, the 2 starting crit stats and 4 upgrade rolls make a total of 6 rolls. A relic with 5 rolls is very good, and with 4 rolls is good. Below that, we can consider that trash. Our goal is to have all relics with at least 4 rolls in the 2 ideal stats. You will also get pieces that roll into attack and HP percent. I value them at half a crit roll. These gloves have 2 attack rolls, so in addition to the 6 crit rolls, this is a 7 roll piece when I'm comparing it to other gloves. For supports, I'll use Fugue as an example. Generally, supports are easier to build because each roll contributes less to overall team damage, but the same principles apply. Fugue wants break, hit rate, and speed, and this helm has 6 total rolls in these stats, making it a perfect piece for her. However, most supports really only care about speed, so any relic that rolls 7 or more speed like this glove can be considered good regardless of what the other stats are. So far we have talked only about relics with 2 desired stats. But there are some characters that mostly care about only 1 stat after they meet some minimum speed requirement. Examples are Bronya and crit damage, Robin and attack, and Firefly and break. For these characters, having a piece like this helm that rolls mostly into 1 stat is very valuable, and any piece that has at least 4 total rolls into that stat is very good. The best way to get these pieces is from relics that start with 4 baseline stats. So you should be saving these whenever they have one of the stats that you need, even if the other stats on the relic are not useful. The next question is, what set should you be farming? There's many sets in Star Rail, and you may be tempted to farm the best set for each of your characters. This is data collected by the Chinese community a while back on the probability of each main stat dropping. The important thing to take note of is that per week of farming, you're only going to see 1 or 2 boots or chest pieces with the right main stat for your character. And who knows if it will even have the correct substats. So farming each set for each character is not practical on a new account. Instead, my recommendation is to focus all your farming into 1 cavern, and I recommend the Scholar and Priest cavern. All supports need speed and can benefit from the 2-piece bonus of the Priest set. The same applies for damage dealers and the crit 2-piece of the Scholar set. Characters that don't benefit from the Scholar 4-piece bonus like Aglaya can still benefit from the speed of the Priest 2-piece bonus until you have time to farm their proper sets. That's the strategy I used on the Aglaya on my 3.0 free-to-play account to beat the endgame. The only exception is if you're starting in 3.4 and you are pulling on Feinan, it makes sense to pull his proper relics, as they also provide crit damage and speed from that cavern. For planar sets, I recommend the Rutilant Arena and Broken Keel world for the same reasons as before. Their bonuses are good for most Amphorius characters, and the stats they give are universal. However, I don't recommend actually using energy to farm planar sets. We'll talk about that later. So how do we actually farm relics? To demonstrate, I started a new account in 3.2 and built one team around Castoris and another around Fugue. While you're leveling, use whatever 4-star relics you find from quests and exploration. Only start farming relics at Trailblaze level 60 when you unlock the ability to guarantee 2 5-star relics per run. Once you are Trailblaze level 60, we start farming by locking any pieces that we see with crit rate, crit damage, speed, and in my case, break effect. You will farm non-stop for 3 weeks, and you heard that right, 3 weeks. And you will not level any relics until you finish farming. The reason we wait is because we want to have many competing pieces before we start leveling them, so that the experience goes to good pieces and not bad ones. For new players, I recommend saving the fuel you get from pom-pom and other sources while leveling. You'll get about 2 weeks worth by the time you get to TL 60, so you'll only need to farm about 1 week in real world time after hitting Trailblaze 60 to get that 3-week amount. Once our 3 weeks of farming is over, we are ready to start leveling the relics. First, we convert all of our trash into Relic XP. Relic XP is a rare resource on a new account, and we need every piece that we can get. The convert relics to scrap button doesn't exist for new accounts. With the trash converted, we start leveling by taking all of our locked pieces to level 3 to figure out which pieces have the stats that we want. We are looking for pieces with 2 priority stats, and any piece that doesn't have them gets marked as trash. The exceptions are speed relics and relics with 4 starting lines that have break effect or crit damage because, as we discussed before, we have characters that want only that stat. Now that we've filtered out all the bad pieces, we can start leveling Caster Reese's crit relics. After 3 weeks of farming, we will have a couple of competing helmets that have both crit rate and crit damage. We start by taking these candidate pieces to +9. Some of these pieces will roll well and others will roll poorly, but because we have many competing candidates, we're not emotionally attached to any of them. At +9, we will know which bad pieces that rolled poorly into stats that we don't want, and will never be better than the pieces that rolled into the stats that we do want, and we can recycle them for Relic XP. Then, we take the best remaining pieces that rolled well and roll them to level 12. At level 12, we repeat the filtering process, leaving only the pieces that still have the potential to become 5 or 6 roll pieces. And we finish by taking those to level 15. You only need 2 to 3 good helmets on your account, so keep the best ones and recycle the worst ones. Then we repeat the step-by-step process for gloves, chests, and boots, always keeping the best pieces and recycling the bad pieces as they fail to roll into the stats that we want. With the crit pieces finished, we move on to the break and speed pieces. The process is the same, so I won't go into detail again. The only difference is if a speed relic happens to roll up to 6 or 7 speed by level 9, you can just take that piece directly to level 15 right away. A piece with 6 or more speed will always find a home somewhere on your account. Finally, a note about the 4-line pieces. It takes a lot of XP to level them, and I recommend not doing it right away on a new account. They are useful, so save them in the beginning and only level them later after you've finished leveling the pieces with 2 desired stats and you're sure that you have leftover Relic XP. I emphasize that it is very easy to run out of Relic XP on a new account. You'll notice that I haven't talked about planar pieces, and that's because I don't recommend using energy for them. If we pull up the drop rates again, you'll notice that getting the right main stat on a planar piece is hard. In addition, energy ropes are the rarest drop in the game, but you need 6 of them for all of your supports. Instead of farming for them, we're going to use the synthesizing system. First, we use the immersifier we saved while leveling to establish a baseline of pieces. Ideally do this during a double event. There's usually 1 per patch. In my case, I did it for the Von Vac and Talia world because all my supports can use them. A few of these will be usable, and if you're lucky, you'll get a good sphere on an energy rope. but you'll have a lot of missing pieces afterwards anyway. By completing events and clearing Divergent Universe and Simulated Universe, you will get a bunch of relic scraps, self-modeling resin, and wishful resin. We use 6 of the self-modeling resins to synthesize energy ropes for our supports. Then, we use the wishful resin to craft a good damage sphere for our damage dealer, in my case Castoris. If you still have any missing pieces at this point, you can use the remaining relic scraps to target farm them. In my case, I needed a health rope for Castoris. Level up these planar pieces and that completes our farming. Let's wrap things up by going over the builds resulting from this farm. I've done this on a couple of accounts now, and this specific farm is probably a little stronger than what you would have on average, but it's still a good exhibit of what kind of relics you can get with a good farming technique, and this power level is enough to beat the endgame. After this, you can go back to farming traces, and I also would recommend at some point doing one more week of farming relics for a full month in the cavern. After that, you can basically do whatever you want. On my 3.0 free-to-play account, I spent 2 months farming the Aglaya Tribi set. On my Firefly and Fei Shao free-to-play account, I spent 2 months farming the Eagle set that I showed you. Because this initial farm is enough to beat the game, you can do whatever you want from now on. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comments, subscribe or like, and I'll see you in the next one.